Accessories can do a lot of things. They can protect you, heal you, make your weapons deadly, commit tax fraud, let you dodge and move. They're extremely versatile. But what they can't do is dish out high damage on their own. Or can they? This challenge is pretty simple. I can only deal damage using accessories. I give myself a Shield of Cthulhu to start with for fun because the alternative would be a very slow Deerclops cheese, and the idea of the challenge had originally come from shield box only, but I couldn't really do that because it wasn't feasible, and I still wanted to make sure to use the shield as much as possible. Now, the Shield of Cthulhu is... well, I really dislike it normally, but as a weapon, it's actually kind of decent. It's got 30 base damage, it does scale with damage buffs, and interestingly, it has no damage variability. It always deals the same amount of damage, and the damage and knockback is solid on normal enemies. But that only applies to enemies directly horizontal to me when I take them one at a time. If there's more than one enemy, or they're above me, or below me, especially like flying enemies or just fighter enemies that jump, it's a big headache. And on bosses, it really struggles because the damage is slow, the knockback is irrelevant, and most bosses aren't going to be staying directly horizontal to you. It took 20 minutes of dying and bashing into him to kill Deerclops, and then the eye showed up, and it was just the worst party I had been to since my 9th birthday party when my cousin hit me in the eye with a golf club. But with Deerclops dead, I get a big upgrade, the Bone Helm. The Bone Helm is a huge benefit against the brain since the hands pierce through the crowds of creepers. In Phase 2, I've got the Shield of Cthulhu to bonk me to victory, and with that I can go to Queen Bee and get by far the best upgrade in pre-hard mode. Bees. Bees are amazing, I love bees, but bees don't love me, and Queen Bee takes forever to drop a honeycomb. The honeycomb is going to spawn bees and douse me in honey whenever I take damage, and the hive pack on top of that is going to buff those bees. That means that if I can hurt myself the same way that he hurt my hurt, I can rapid fire spawn bees to murder anything nearby, and I can't be held criminally liable. So how do I do that? I can't get enough defense to do spikes in pre-hard mode. Statues are an option, but the statue enemies would soak up all the bees. Any enemy that I get hit by would take the bee hits instead. There's lava, but the damage over time from on fire would kill me pretty quickly. That's something I need to figure out by the time I get to the wall because I can't just bonk off it with the Shield of Cthulhu. In the meantime, there's still Skeletron, and I can manage damage on myself using his hands and skulls to spawn bees. The bees are very powerful. I do get the Bone Glove from Skeletron, but unfortunately I can't use it because I would need to attack with a weapon. So what do I do for the Wall of Flesh? And the answer is lava, a very particular setup for lava. I slap on molten armor to give myself immunity to on fire and equip an obsidian rose to reduce the damage so I can step on lava and take 1 damage a hit. If you didn't know, you get reduced iframes if you take 1 damage from an attack, which means I spawn bees faster because I take damage faster. And the battle begins in this corner. He's not coming up here. I get the directions sorted, and holy shit, the wall just gets eviscerated. The bees are insane. I'm the bee-nade. It's me. I needed to use a thin layer of lava because a thick one would destroy the bees, but you just rapid fire off massive bees, and like you could be using an actual weapon alongside this. You could be hitting them with a Knight's Edge or a Phoenix Blaster. This is a really effective strategy. A key part of this, though, is that I do not want lava immunity, I want lava resistance, which means this is exactly the sort of situation where you want to use an obsidian rose and not Terra Spark Boots, a lava charm, or an obsidian skin potion. And now things get fun, because I need a Star Cloak, badly. I don't stand a chance against anything without a Star Cloak, but killing mimics with a honeycomb, a Shield of Cthulhu, and a Bone Helm is not easy. Finding them in the first place is not easy, just killing sharks for hunter potions was hard enough, since bees, much like a dozen eggs, don't work underwater. It's even harder killing mimics when these teleporting assholes won't leave you alone. I finally get one, and I do not make a Star Veil. A Star Veil is actually anti-synergy. I want to take damage as frequently as possible. Extra iframes is going to make me spawn fewer stars. A Star Cloak does upgrade to the Bee Cloak, though, and that's what I go with. There's a slight issue, though, and that's that the Star Cloak was nerfed to only spawn stars when you take damage from an enemy. You can't just sit on a spike or lava or anything like that. But you can, for some reason, just hit yourself with falling sand, and that spawns stars. I can place a torch underneath me to auto-break the sand and keep having it hit me by placing more. I can also wire up statues on top of me to spawn enemies that hit for 1 damage. I make a little box to test it out against Queen Slime. She drops the volatile gelatin, which I'm hoping is going to carry me through the mech bosses, and I learned 2 things. Firstly, the Star Cloak is absolutely insane. Like, it should be a felony to own one. The damage is ridiculous for an accessory. Combined with the iframes from getting hit, it just annihilates Queen Slime. Sure, there's a slight issue staying alive, but this is easily enough damage to kill the mechs. The other thing I learned is that the gelatin absolutely sucks at fighting bosses because it can't hit anything, but the Star Cloak is so insane that it doesn't matter. Seriously, if somebody pulled a gun on me, I would be more afraid if they shot themselves with a Star Cloak equipped than if they shot me. The natural predator of the worm is the falling star, as the piercing just destroys them, especially since I'm up high and they can't reach me. Prime is a little bit trickier because I have to get out of the box when he starts spinning, but otherwise he just sits there and takes it. The destroyer stays below you, Prime stays above you, and then there's these fuckers. The 2 that I can't use the Star Cloak on, and I can't use the gelatin on either because of how slow it is. They stay to the side of you. The twins have one glaring weakness in comparison to the other 2 mechs though, and that is their defense. In Phase 1 they only have 10, and in Phase 2 it's a little bit higher, but you can still get through it. I use a sharpening station while holding a melee weapon to get get the defense penetration and get some support from my B-boys, but I need a lot more than their support because Spasmatism hits hard. I need the stars, the Bs, the nurse, everything I can muster. B Street's back and they barely clutch me a win against the Twins. My defense was very bad because I had to go back to Molten Armor for the on-fire immunity, and I had to get rid of a lot of my accessories to slot in the Bs. This was a very tough fight. Plantera, conversely, was very easy. Turns out statue iframing is still incredibly powerful. I had the timing down and she was barely able to hit me at all due to iframes from the slimes and jellyfish. The Spore Sack is my final upgrade and a very powerful one at that. It's got some strangeness to it that I figure out later, but for now I fight Golem, and Golem is a much easier boss than Plantera. Golem is a much easier boss than Plantera. I could go straight to the Moonlord, but where's the fun in that? I'm killing all bosses. As I've proven in Stardew Valley, I am a god at fishing, so it's Fishron first. And now is where the weirdness of the Spore Sack comes into play. The Spore Sack only spawns spores near blocks and walls, which means for this to work, I can't just fly around in midair. But yet again, statues in the Starcloak are just insanely powerful. And for the Empress, I need to kick things up a notch because I've got a time limit. 9 minutes. If I don't deal 98,000 damage by morning, I can't kill her. So I put up some strawberry gemspark walls to get the Spore Sack going, and the damage is fine, and I'm broke. Fuck. Well, the damage is there, and once I pawn off my possessions for money, I get back there and kill her. 2 minutes to spare. But none of what I've done for the rest of the game will be effective on the Moonlord. The Moonlord heals. I can't just sit still on the Moonlord, especially since he has independent iframes. I have to use the Spore Sack, and pretty much only the Spore Sack. I line the whole place with walls and asphalt, and I plan to use asphalt to run away from the tongue and leave a trail of spores behind me. And then I teleport back and keep doing it. And it works really well, actually, although it's quite slow. But it only works for one hand, and I got into a very sticky situation. I needed to deal damage to the top eye and left hand because the right hand was soaking up all the damage, and I couldn't do that because it had already released a True Eye of Cthulhu, and I was very restricted in my movement options because I can't let him heal. I had to dance around with things a lot, and it was a complete mess, but I scraped by into phase 2, and once again my boy B-Cloak's got my back. Best accessory I used in this run by far. B-Cloak was just perfect. Everything about it in this second phase was perfect. You can iframe inside the Moonlord's socket of thorns and take 1 damage hit, and the stars fall perfectly so that if you match the Moonlord's speed, they fall exactly on the core, and they also deal just enough damage to out DPS's heal. And well, with the Moonlord dead, what's next? Well, there's only one thing to do. A challenge greater than him. Spore!
Got it. Level 4 charm?